I've gotta say that Silicon Valley Bank and Signet Bank took everybody off guard, and that was not an elegant roll down of those 2 banks. I have to say that this First Republic Bank roll down into JP Morgan was very elegant, and it went very smoothly. But here's what kind of is freaking people out. So on Wednesday, you mentioned this in the beginning. The Fed did their rate hike of a quarter point, didn't surprise anybody. And then the Fed had their quarterly like interview session with the media, with journalists. And um, first of all, I remember a time where the Fed wouldn't talk to anybody. So this is quite significant over the last 15 years that the Fed has been having these sessions and answering questions. The Fed has a statement that they print, and it's like boilerplate, right? They like take the same sentences and they either reuse them or they don't reuse them. So what was significant on Wednesday is, first of all, this official statement that they write down. They took out the sentence that has been in there for about a year now about how it's necessary for them to like control inflation with interest rates, which gave everybody like a hint that there might not be a rate hike next time. They might be in changing modes from being aggressive to, hey, let's see what the effects of the stuff that we did over the last year do, and let's let it kind of settle in. But then Jerome Powell, the one who was answering questions, made sure that he clarified that, hey, we're going to be doing it on a case by case basis. So we removed that sentence, meaning we're kind of changing stances here. But at the same time, if something calls for us to raise interest rates, we reserve the right to do it. So don't read into anything I just said. So that was the first thing he said. But then he said something that kind of pissed people off, because he said, hey, listen, this bank closure that happened this past week, we closed it elegantly. JP Morgan Chase took it over. That's all well and good. And we think that that was, those banks, Silicon Valley Bank, Signet Bank, and this bank were the banks that we thought had the highest likelihood to have a problem. We've taken care of those 3. We don't see any more problems on the horizon. And then sure enough, the next day, yesterday, what do we have? We have PacWest, we have Western Alliance, and we have First Horizon. These are 3 more regional banks that all of a sudden shareholders decided to start exiting from. They all fell somewhere between 30 and 45, if not 50% in their share price overnight. So I don't know what the Fed was talking about on Wednesday, but it may not be controlled at all. And then on top of that, all this is like a contagion, right? Then we saw East West Commercia, we saw Citizens, we saw Truist, we saw UMB, we saw PNC. These are all banks that have done some heavy advertising trying to get depositors. Their share prices fell anywhere from 2 up to 10%. So there's this contagion on these regional banks, smaller banks, where people are afraid. And depositors are like, well, the share price is dropping. Maybe I need to move my money over. And so all of these banks are under risk as far as I'm concerned, especially those 3 I mentioned, PacWest, Western Alliance, and First Horizon. So I don't know what the Fed was talking about on Wednesday, but this is adding to people's losing confidence in the Federal Reserve making any sort of accurate decisions. What do you